What's up, guys? Thank you for joining me today on Instinctive Addiction Archery. I'm your host, Jeff Phillips. You say, what in the world are you doing today? That's right. I'm in a tree stand. When it's on the verge of bow season, man, I have to start practicing out of a stand. And that's what I want to do this video on today, guys, because I know a lot of you may not do that. So, if you're planning on chasing whitetail deer with the old stick and string, and you plan on hunting out of a tree stand, you had better practice out of a tree stand. And I mean from getting all your gear together, tying up your bow, getting it up, getting settled in, every little thing you're gonna need. Man, you better get it down, I'm telling you. Because you don't want to waste a valuable evening that you could be hunting and mess around and forget something, or just something not work right or whatever. But today's video, guys, is about shooting a traditional bow out of a tree stand. And I have been beyond blessed. Good Lord in heaven has blessed me tremendously with a lot of deer, compound and recurve and longbow. And guys, I'm gonna tell you, it's a different game when you verse hunting with one of these against a compound. It's a different world. It is. Number one, you got to be patient. You got to wait on a good shot. You have to think about that deer. And let's just say if you were hunting this evening, if I was hunting this evening and that buck walked out, that would be about as perfect as it could be. Why? Because he is quartering away. That means if I tuck my arrow right there in the back of his lungs, it's going to angle forward to that off shoulder and take everything out, okay? If I shoot him fairly low, I'm going to get a low exit. If I get down through the lungs and heart, I'm going to get a low exit and a killer blood trail, okay? Which is the best scenario you'll ever have. Okay, you never want to shoot a deer with a stick bow quartering to you. You just don't want to do it because you're asking for trouble. These bows, even running 300, 350 grains on the front of an arrow, and I don't care if you build a 700 grain arrow out of a 45 or 50 pound bow, you're not going to plow the shoulders. You may get lucky, but you're probably in for a really long track and a broken heart. So you got to get it in behind that shoulder, or at least behind the scapula, the hardest part. Now, a scapula itself is not that hard, and yes, you can penetrate it broadside at a relatively close range with a heavy arrow build. You can, absolutely you can. But that leg bone and that joint, no, I don't think you're going to get through that. I really don't, guys. I've never been able to. All right, so you got to be patient. That's number one, being patient. But practicing shooting a stick bow out of a tree stand at a deer target is the best practice you're going to have. And I'll tell you, because it's different. If you think about it, you can stand in the yard, you're perfectly upright, vertical, man, you got your form, you can stand there and you can just shoot shot after shot. It's got zero, absolutely nothing to do whatsoever with shooting out of a tree stand. Why? Because you cannot shoot the bow vertical. Why? Because it's going to hit your leg, it's going to hit your tree stand, it's going to hit something, even with a 58-inch bow. It's going to. So you're going to have to shoot with a cant. If you have not practiced shooting your bow canted, you're in trouble, because that's what you're going to have to do. You're not going to shoot a vertical position with a stick bow out of a tree. And when I say stick bows, recurves and longbows, guys. So you had better learn how to shoot putting some cant on the bow, coming back and pulling through all the way in, digging in with a good tight anchor, not short drawing your bow. And that's the worst thing that happens, and it's happened with me. You get excited, and I've actually killed deer before and thought, Lord, I don't know how I pulled that off, because I can remember getting excited, wanting to kill it so bad, afraid it was going to see me, hear me, smell me, whatever, and come in slow drawing and get about right here and shoot. That's target panic if you're shooting in the yard. Well, it's target panic if you're in the woods too. It is. If you cannot come to your full draw, you're not giving that arrow all the energy that it needs to drive it into that deer, number one. Okay, so you got to think, I've got to get an anchor, calm down, pick a spot, get into anchor, and just focus as hard as you can where you want that arrow to go. Now, next thing here, where would you want to realistically be looking to shoot that deer? Where? Middle of the lungs? No, absolutely not. Because 9 times out of 10, especially a doe, they're going to duck, they're going to duck, they're going to duck, they're going to react. They're going to. This is the quietest bow I've ever owned. No question about it. Even with that, I think they hear the feathers. I think they hear that arrow coming, and right before it gets to them, they react. They duck, okay? There is a myth, guys, a myth. Proven fact, it's a myth, that you want to wait till a deer's head is down to shoot it. That is a complete myth. When their head is up, they are not as spring-loaded. When their head is down, they are far, far more spring-loaded to be able to drop and turn than they are with their head up. And it's not like they just see the arrow coming or anything like that. They have peripheral vision. So if they're going to see it, they're going to see it. Now, myth number 2, lighted knocks. Some people say a deer can see a lighted knock coming towards him. Absolutely false. I have actually put cameras up on targets, even at night, and shot lighted knocks. You cannot see it. You cannot see it from the front, only from the side or the back. If that arrow is coming to the deer, they cannot see that lighted knock. It is not true. It has no effect at all. So don't be scared to use lighted knocks. It's not going to make any difference, guys. It's going to help you if anything. All right. So you always want to focus on the lower 1/3. That way, if that deer does not duck for some reason, you still get a good heart shot. Bottom of the lungs, heart, whatever. It's great. Plus, you get a really good low exit blood trail. That's what you want. If the deer does duck, then at least, hopefully, you will catch him somewhere middle in the lungs. That's what you want to try to do. So make sure that you don't forget about all this when the moment of truth comes, and look at a deer right in the middle of it and pick a spot right in the middle. You don't need to do that. I don't care if it's a 7-yard shot. Don't forget to look at the lower 1/3 and intend for that to be the spot you want your arrow to go, because expect that deer to duck it. Expect it, and it'll work. Every deer I've ever shot that I can ever remember, even ones that my eyes don't recall the deer ducking, I went back and played slow motion video every time. It's just they do it so fast the naked eye can't even see it sometimes, but a camera will show it. And your impact can change as much as 2 inches to 7 or 8 inches or a foot, depending on how much that deer actually does drop. There again, if it's windy, if they're in rut, if it's a buck, sometimes they don't even move. Sometimes they don't, but you can bet your bottom dollar a doe is gonna duck. You can bet it. So we're gonna do some shooting, man. I'm gonna show you guys. I haven't shot yet. I just got everything set up. So, cold shot. Could I successfully kill this deer if Lord sent that deer my way and he comes stepping out and he gives me this? I'm gonna say that deer is about 15 yards, which is prime. About a 15-yard shot. So let's do it. It does not get any more perfect than that. That arrow would angle completely through those lungs. I am in the lower 1/3. That is the most perfect shot that I could have possibly made on a white-tailed deer out of a tree stand in a real life situation. Cold shot. I'm proud of myself because I hadn't shot out of a tree stand since last year in actual hunting season. But that is where you want to shoot a deer. You don't want to try to shoot it high. You see, if that deer never moved, I would have cleaned his clock. But if he did duck, and what little time it took for that arrow to get there, I still would have caught him in the upper part of his lungs, and the downward angle that I'm at would have driven it down all the way through those lungs into that offside shoulder. Now, would it have been a pass through? No, there's no way you're going to shoot through that deer and out that other shoulder. It's not going to happen with a traditional bow. Not going to happen. But even a thick, heavy 3D target like that, that's a big HD Mackenzie, and that arrow got really good penetration, running 250 grains on the front of it. I'm sorry, running 300 grains on these arrows. So a 300 grain tipped arrow, yeah, it's going to get really good penetration. No matter what, with a good sharp broadhead, it sure enough is. But guys, that's what you want to do. 100%. Get out there in your tree stand and do some practicing, because it will make all the difference when it comes time to actually hunt. Like I said, if I'm staring at that deer, and here's what you get into that sometimes people don't think about, especially if you've been hunting with a compound bow. A compound, you're going to draw, you're going to put that sight pin right there where you want it, and you're going to squeeze off. Doubtful that deer's going to duck it at 15 yards. Very doubtful. If you're shooting 280 to 300 feet a second, very doubtful, right? Well, back down to 180. What these bows do, okay? And that's a fast one. A lot of them are 150, okay? So think about the time it takes that arrow to get there. Deer's got plenty of time to react. It really does. But here's the thing, guys. Get in position when the pressure's on and you're nervous, your adrenaline's pumping, and especially if it is a buck and you might have been watching him out there in that field and he's moved around and he's finally come in and you don't even have a nerve left. That's usually the way it happens, okay? And you're just trying to pull off drawing that bow without him hearing anything. It's dead calm, and if he hears or suspects anything, he's going to bolt and he's gone. So to pull that shot off, your movements have to be slow. You have to be able to study that deer, and if you have to wait, I've got some videos. I got one that's late January hunting. Man, I got some cool videos on one doe that literally exhausted me. I had to do time lapse, but I think it was somewhere around between 15 and 20 minutes that it took that doe that just had that sixth sense and she knew I was in the area. And I had a recurve waiting on the shot, and I did kill her, but she exhausted me. My arm was burning so bad that I did not have any strength left. I could barely even get the bow back because of having to sit in one place and hold my bow and not move, because those eyes were just looking. Holding it that long, it wore me completely out. When I've learned, if you wear muck boots or something like that, if it's possible, stick your bow limb in your boot. Let it rest. Anything you can do, or if it's possible, bring that bow against your chest. Just do this right here and put your bow between you and that deer, where if it looks, it's not seeing your eyes, because if a deer sees your eyes, it's gone. And don't you think they cannot see your eyes, because they will make eye contact with you and they're gone. I've had it happen too many times, but I've had them look at me and hold my bow like this, and just between me and the deer where there was nothing that I could see it, but it couldn't make me out, because you can't see it from this angle, guys. But I mean, it's literally having the bow blocked. I mean, seriously, it'd be like that right there. That I'm looking at the deer, but that deer, if my face was right here, that deer could not see my face. So sometimes I'll sit there like that until that deer looks away or relaxes and does the tail flicker, that everything's cool, goes back to feeding, whatever. Then I make my move. That's a kill shot. I'm about 2 inches forward of that one, but still a really good shot. I'm a little more forward with that shot than I would really want to be. Definitely a kill shot, but it's borderline getting into that harder part of the shoulder, okay? I would not worry about that shot, but it's not my choice shot. So there you go. That proves shooting out of a tree stand, hey, you better practice it. I'm telling you, you better practice it. I'm gonna run through this one again. All right, it's finally looking away. Maybe it's been looking around, and it's finally turned his head. That's a dead deer. That's a dead deer. Oh my gosh. So far I haven't blown it. So far, I have not blown it. Now, what if I had, I'll give you guys a scenario that's really cool here. What if I had 5 or 6 does all under my tree? Heads, heads looking up and down, feeding up and down, and I had this buck standing here, and I didn't want to shoot none of these. I was wanting this deer, and I literally cannot get by with any movement hardly. I mean, I've got them on this side, I got them on that side, I got them out here, and I mean, literally, they done about pin me, and I almost cannot get away with any movement. Squirrels barking, whatever, and I have to be so ultra stealthy, making sure that no deer are looking at me while I make my shot. My head's got to go down into it and get lined up. Heart shot. That's a heart shot. Okay, if anything happened, that deer would have still died, right? But the first arrow was the most perfect. So you can see that really trying to be ultra stealthy is sometimes way harder than just drawing a bow and looking at something and shooting it. When you add the factors in of absolute stealth mode, that eyeballs are looking around and you're about to get busted and they're going to blow out and cost you the shot that you want, maybe a deer of a lifetime. You got to practice it. Perfect. Now that shot was perfect. Actually, that one is straight boiler. Okay, they all are. They're all kill shots. They really are. But my point of focus here and in this practice is to stay in that lower 1/3 of this deer target, because on a real deer, I don't want to get used to trying to shoot on no mid body, because that's not where I want to hit these deer at. I want the lower third. And back. If they're angled, like this deer's not really quartering away, it's more or less walking away. But if that deer was turned any whatsoever, I would have to tuck it in at the back of the ribs to drive it in and get it. You would be way forward if he was turned and you were taking a way quartering away shot. This is almost broadside. But if he was quartering, I would want to go in at the back of that rib and angle it right up in there in the cavity. Because you got to just think about the anatomy of a deer. Think about that chest cavity. Where's the lungs and heart sitting on that deer? Where are they at? Study the animal. When it comes up and you're going to shoot it, look at it and study the anatomy of the deer. Think about it. Think, okay, I need this broadhead. I need it to drive right in there to get everything. I need to get the most vital organs I can take out. That's what you got to do. Oh, perfect shot. Golly, that's perfect. Okay, so I'm tickled. I haven't shot out of a tree all year, and it does come back to me. It really does. I used to do it all the time, but hey, months go by and you just don't get in a tree stand, you know, sometimes right before season, and that's okay. As long as you at least a couple of weeks before you start hunting, take your stand. If it's a climber, whatever. If you got private land, put your ladder stand up, do something to get off the ground at the level you typically hunt, and put something. If you don't have a 3D target, I don't care if you put a paper cup on the ground, something you can focus on and practice shooting with a canted position. Because guys, you can't shoot vertical. The bow's going to hit something. It's going to hit my leg. It's going to hit something. It don't happen. Okay. But with the cant, that limb is out here to the side. I can lay it as flat as I want to and make this shot. So you must practice with a canted position and leaning forward. You got to lean into it. Bend at the waist. Bend at the waist. You got a safety harness on. You're not going nowhere. Bend at the waist. Get out there and study that spot. Study it. Absolutely perfect. Perfect. Okay, so guys, that's what I do. That is my tree stand practicing session. And if you haven't done it, you need to. You really need to. It's totally realistic, guys. It's the closest thing you're ever going to get, and it's going to condition you to when you actually start hunting. And I'll tell you something, even before it gets cold weather, you had better put all your cold weather clothes on. Now, I got a t-shirt and my safety vest, but it's even better when you put that heavy fleece jacket on, whatever you wear, layer up. And I mean, when it gets, cold enough that you can stand to do that, make sure you practice with a lot of clothes on what you're going to be wearing, even face mask. If you are going to wear a face mask in that tree stand, you better shoot with a face mask. Every little thing makes a difference. It changes the whole scene from your regular old stand out there in the backyard and shoot 100 rounds in the evenings all summer. Forget all that. That just gets you toned, it gets you in your process and all that, but it's got nothing to do with killing deer out of a tree stand with a traditional bow. It's got nothing to do with it, guys. It's a different deal altogether. I promise you it is. And I learned it the hard way. Believe me, I learned it the hard way. School of hard knocks. And I've shared it before, and we'll wrap it up with this. Sometimes that's the best thing to happen. Failure is the best teacher you got. Sometimes it is. School of hard knocks, man. Get out there and blow from some shots, miss some deer and whatever. Don't get discouraged. Learn from it. Learn from it. Learn what you need to do different. Regroup. Get your head together. Get your spirits back up. And go back after them. And when you do it, when you pull it off, oh, then you're on cloud 9. You like, I got this now. I got it. This is not that hard to do. It's on. And it's so fun, man. It's rewarding when you call all your buddies, hey, man, I killed one with my old recurve, whatever. Hey, it's just cool. It's cool. But it takes this kind of practice, guys. It truly does. So thank you for joining me today on Instinctive Addiction Archery. I'm Jeff Phillips. I love you guys. Pray that everything we do bring honor and glory to the good Lord above that gives us all this cool stuff to enjoy. Till next time, goodbye.